So down to turn 4, they put some heat into these Who's Your Tyres. Let's take a look at your grid for round 2 of the Painter Dixon Touring Car Masters. John Bowe, Stephen Johnson on the front row. 2 cars under yesterday's qualifying lap record. Ryan Hansford and Mark King on the second row. Adam Bressington and Paul Freestone out of 5 and 6. Cam Tilley and Jason Gomersall back to Leo Tobin and Andrew Fisher starting off row 5.
So the results from the trophy race earlier today mean nothing relative to this race, which is why Jason Gomersall goes from 8th place. He said he just didn't get qualifying right. He dropped the car off the road through turn 6 into that final sweeper there on his new tyre run. Unfortunately, couldn't get the tyre back up on his second lap, and that's why he qualified down on the fourth row of the grid. But he feels he's got a faster race car, and he demonstrated that ably this morning.
So the Vodafone safety car pulls away, and the rows of 2, 12 cars only. We started with 13. Gavin Bullis not taking the start today after damaging the engine. The 2-time champ as we get set for race number 2 in round number 2 of this year's Painter Dixon Touring Car Masters. Here's the green flag and the charge down to turn number 1.
Good start, Bowe. Johnson hung out to dry a little bit there. Hansford's going to capitalise on that. We have a very good run through the kink under the bridge, but the Mustang's good enough to sweep by.
They stayed side by side through turn 1 and 2, which was cool as everybody hustles for positions down to turn 4 for the first of 15 journeys from the Armorall drone cam and down into turn 4. JB leads us out on the Tirana and has a healthy margin already.
And the irony of Stephen Johnson having brake issues is that he said that John Bowe Tirana is at its absolute best under brakes. It's a lighter car, amazing braking performance, and JB gets it stopped really well. But even Ryan Hansford said the same thing. He said it's better than my car in terms of stopping performance. So at a circuit where you want that to work particularly well, John Bowe's got it made, and he'll lead the first of 15 laps in our 4th championship race of the year. A tweak in the format to Touring Car Masters this season. 4 races per weekend, 3 of them championship points paying races. So we're 3 championship races down this year. This is race number 4.
And there's the Dunlop Bridge. That used to be the old starting point at this track. Hard to think that would happen these days, wouldn't it?
Pits used to be on the infield there. I have no idea how they used to fit everybody in. Tightly, I would imagine.
Tightly, yep. So, Mark King, is Cam Tilley and Jason Gomersall starting from the middle of this pack.
Andrew Fisher had more oil line problems in the trophy race earlier. So here's the start. Brilliant jump from John Bowe. Perfect reaction, and Steve just got a bit of curb on the inside there at 1, a little bit wide at 2, and it opened the door for Hansford. Wasn't able to get through. Squabbling over the minors behind it. Cameron Tilley is always brave on the outside. A little bit further back, Andrew Fisher. Jesus Racing Falcon has a look up the inside of Freestone. And that checked him up on the exit. Leo Tobin in the 302 Mustang was able to cruise by.
Here they go, the 2 front guys starting to duke it out here on lap 3. Johnson fancies a look on the outside. Bowe to the inside here. He'll try the switchback and the plunge down the hill. They'll go side by side. Watch the Mustang wind up, and they'll go side by side at over 200 k's an hour, and Johnson will take the lead.
Great drive out of the hairpin for Stevie J. The Mustang was always going to be a little bit quicker in a straight line relative to the Tirana. It's got about 800 cc's more to play with and more horsepower, but there's the strength for the SLR 5000. Under brakes, into 6 and around the outside. So if this goes the way that a lot of these races have in the last year or 2, this will ebb and flow over the distance. But Johnson, no worries about brakes. I suspect that he's going really hard, really early, because at the end of the race, he's in strife with the brakes. So try and build the margin now if you can, and then worry about bringing it home when he's got track position over his old mate and rival, John Bowe. Great battle, though.
Hansford in 3rd position. There is the yellow and blue multi-spares Tirana, and a 2-car scrap behind him between King and Bressington. Back to Tilley, Gomersall, Freestone, Fisher, and Jim Policino in the Mocom Tirana. Here's the battle I just talked about with King and Bressington, the 2 yellow cars going side by side at turn 5.
Mark King's car looks a little bit unsettled through the high-speed stuff, and it was like that in qualifying yesterday. He was working really hard, but great job to qualify that car 4th. Loses a spot to his teammate. Chat with Mark last weekend up at Mount Panorama. Actually, he was racing in the Bathurst 6-hour production car race, and Kia, which is not a Chevrolet Camaro. It was very quick to point out. Very, very busy at King Springs. Service a lot of the supercar paddock. As well as a huge road car business and very, very active internationally now. But really enjoying his motor racing. He's a race winner in TCM in the past, former production car champion. This is his teammate Adam Bracington, who was a superstar last year and very nearly won the outright championship. He did take the class victory in Pro-Am. Unfortunately for him, what that means is you get elevated up a division the next year. So he's now in Pro Masters, which is the serious stuff with the likes of Johnson and Bow at the front of the field.
We're going to chat to Dick Johnson just to get a bit more information about what they've done to fix up the brakes on Stevie J's entry. They said it was actually, not only was it the brake compound, as you mentioned, pad compound that you mentioned before, but also he had issue with the pedal box where the brake balance bar, the circlip had come off and the balance was moving around on him under braking. So he had no confidence on that brake pedal. They've put all the old pads in, they've fixed up the pedal box, and it looks like he's okay to go for this race.
Thanks, Cam. Down in the pits.
You mentioned a really uncomfortable feeling, as Cameron explained. Trying to slow a 1,500 kilo on race car down from 245 kilometres an hour, which is about the top speed down the back straight for these cars. You would like to be comfortable rather than not, one would think. So Steve was just a bit uncertain about that. The other thing he said, in what everyone else in the field is doing, is saving their good tyres for this race. So they're only allowed one brand new set of the Control Hoosier tyre over the course of a weekend, and they've said with more racing it makes managing that allocation more difficult. And they're cooking the outside tyres through this long sweeping corner here. So they were all running their old tyres in the trophy race earlier today, which makes Jason Gomesel's performance in the lead even more impressive, I think.
Great drive. We saw a glimpse of Andrew Fisher, and here he is with a bit of telltale smoke once again, like we saw in the trophy race today.
Just can't take a drink, this team. Drama in testing in Winton earlier this year with a huge amount of damage on a car that they'd only recently finished constructing to race this season.
Usually green's an unlucky colour, but it seems to be this Corsa red they've got on here hasn't been to their favour. He's on the back of Jason Gomesol, so he's not losing pace at the moment. That smoke is very similar to what we saw earlier today in the trophy race. We've got 9 laps to go. Johnson from Bow and Hansford still your top 3, and the race lap record has been broken twice now. Our front 2 guys, they got 5 seconds on Hansford. We'll continue to watch this battle now between Gomesol and Fisher. As down the inside he goes.
I think Andrew Fisher's going to be avoiding black cats, ladders and mirrors, because it's been 3 separate oil lines in different locations. He's been black flagged again. So Andrew Fisher's weekend is just horrible at the moment.
And that's what we talked about in the trophy race, that you find and solve one problem and it just gets moved further down the system. 3 different oil lines. I mean, what are the odds of that occurring?
Now over the engine and find out where the gremlin is.
He did say that part of the issue with that crash in testing wasn't only that it damaged the car, but it cost them testing. So they're developing that car on the go and learning about its little foibles, of which oil lines apparently are one, over the course of trying to race and get positions and do all the things you need to do in a race meeting. And we've taken another practice session away from him because there's only one practice and one qualifying. So it's a tough ask. That's a very experienced team. They've got a 6-week gap now between this round and the next. Racing at Winton Motor Raceway, which is a staple on the Painter Dixon Touring Car Masters staple on the calendar.
Kick the northern swing on later in the year with Hidden Valley in Townsville, and down to Sandown, Bathurst, and then Newcastle to wrap up this year's Painter Dixon Touring Car Masters. Johnson, who picked up a race win in Adelaide in the first points paid round, which was race 2. And started to disappear down the road. The gap is out to 6 seconds. Here's Cam Tilley in the pacer. The Glennon Transport entry at turn 6, and opposite lot, lots of tyre smoke, and eventually takes it off the racetrack.
Decent catch.
Yeah.
Decent save. That car was sideways for a very long time. Almost got the thing to the apex, you know. He's got great car control.
It's got a sound unlike nothing else in the field, does it? As the work continues on the Jesus Racing Falcon of Andrew Fisher in the pits, and likely not to return in race number 2 here today at Symmons Plains. 56.23 is the quickest lap of the race for Stephen Johnson. The gap is 1.18 seconds back to Bow. A further 7.5 seconds now to Hansford. He's running his own race out there, wondering where the rest of the field is.
Well, I think for Ryan Hansford, it's very much damage limitation after a very tough start to their weekend. If you haven't followed the action so far, they had a steering arm break on that car, and it's been a persistent problem they've been chasing. When they purchased the car, it had quite lightweight steering arms. They re-engineered those components, broke again. So they're saying, oh, it could actually be a consumable component. We're just going to have to keep throwing at the car. So that broke again, and then the ball joint issue in the trophy race earlier today. So they're down on track time. Remarkable to still qualify third, having not done a single lap in practice. And then had the dramas in the trophy race and still running third in this. So the car's fast, and Ryan is driving it superbly. Just being hampered a little bit by a lack of track time. He's being caught by Adam Bressington as well. The VDC.com.au Camaro from White Line Racing is catching the multi-spares Tirana. Less than a second between them. 5 laps to go in this one.
And looking to debut another Tirana, the Peters Motorsport team later this year. What I love about this series, I've said it numerous times over the years, is it's just going to continue to get bigger and better as new cars or newer cars come into the category. Scary to think XD Falcons are going to be eligible for the series, isn't it? We're starting to feel old.
XD Falcon hasn't been called new in, what, 35 years?
It is for this category.
That's correct.
Let's not start round one now. Bressington, we're right on board with, down to the right-hander.
As you mentioned, Winton, there's already 30 cars on the entry list for that round, so should be a terrific field. A great little racetrack in country Victoria. Leo Tobin on the move, up the inside now of Jim Policina. That's a change for 9th and 10th place. The 302 powered Ford Mustang gets up the inside.
He's having a good weekend, Leo Tobin. He's been well up the field, and Jim Policina, that car holding together. Let's ride on board with Leo Tobin. Down to turn number 1, shows you how the track goes up and drops down his left-hand side, and the window just flapping around on the right-hand side, letting a bit of fresh air into the cockpit. It's not exactly warm here today. It'll be warm inside the cockpit. One of these Peter Dixon Touring Car Masters. We're on lap 12 of 15. Johnson continues from Bow and Hansford.
They're allowed to run Perspex side windows on these cars, help keep the weight down. Some fiberglass bodywork as well. So Leo's got 40 or 50 kilos out of this car in recent time, so it's now almost on its minimum racing weight. There is the Victorian behind the wheel, working hard, noted historic racer. He's got another Mustang he races in Group N competition. One of the partners in Tobin Brothers Funerals in Melbourne. Very passionate about this category. Started racing in a HQ Monaro. So he goes past Paul Freestone, who's limping back to pit lane, so not sure what's going on with the 25 Camaro.
I've got Andrew Fisher, guys. Now, Andrew, I thought Bad Luck was supposed to come in 3s, not 4s.
Yeah, no, look, it's been a difficult weekend. Obviously, we had the big accident at Winton. We didn't get to shake the car down. This is our shakedown, and that's the way it goes, unfortunately. But, yeah, the boys are working so hard to get the car back out there. Had great speed there, and obviously was working our way through the field. Great lap time there, but it just wasn't meant to be. So we'll go back, we'll have another look at it, and come out for race 3.
It's good that you're always smiling as well, Andrew.
I've got a smile. We're very fortunate to be doing what we're doing. So thanks very much.
Thanks, mate.
Exactly, one of the most positive guys you'll ever meet in motorsport.
Spends a lot of time going to both contrasting places, local schools, to teach kids about the value of making life choices, the right choices, but also goes to local prisons and does the same thing to inmates there with that program they run. It's very, very successful. It speaks to thousands and thousands of people throughout the year whilst going motor racing and using motor racing to promote that. Policina and Tobin once again.
This was on the outside. Policina, dirtier, line on the outside. I was just starting to take note of that window, just flapping around on the passenger side. Didn't look too bad on the in-car. Certainly from the outside now, might be attracting some attention.
Race control would have had a look at that, and doesn't look like it's going to peel itself away and become a hazard. So Leo got a good drive, bit of a lift there through the sweeper. But good drive out the hairpin, better straight line speed, and just up the inside there. So nice move as our leaders start the final lap. 1.3 the margin. Johnson to Bow. They've both lapped underneath the existing Touring Car Masters lap record, which was held by Stephen Johnson. They've taken 0.6 of a second out of that, and Mark King limping down the back straight from 5th place and struggling to get that car refired. So after a very, very strong performance, he was following his teammate Adam Bressington up to the back of Ryan Hansford. isn't anymore.
No. Now this race, the leaders come past on the final lap. Their margin is 11 seconds. Back to Hansford now, not even going to appear in that shot. It's down to turn number 6 for the final time. He came here in 2015, subbing for the guy that sits in second. And this is going to be victory number 5 in succession at Symmons Plains, and his second for the year. Give it to Steve Johnson here in Tasmania.
Good battle at the start, and that will brew. They'll make changes to the Tirana for tomorrow. That was Steve's 21st race win in Touring Car Masters, equals him with the great Andrew Miedeke in the all-time series winners list. And Ryan Hansford, with all the dramas the multi-spares Tirana has had today, manages to come home in 3rd place, just in front of a charging Adam Bressington.
The car held together, and that's good to see. Unfortunately, not the case for Mark King, who stopped on the final lap. They're great rivals, but great friends off the circuit as well. Johnson and Balgo 1 and 2 here in Tasmania, both breaking the existing lap record during this race as well. As we take a look at the results of race number 2, this year's Painter Dixon Touring Car Masters. Johnson from Bow, Hansford in 3rd, Bressington and Cam Tilley complete your top 5.
Great drive from Cameron Tilley in the Valiant Pacer. Quiet performance, held out Jason Gomersell. Leo Tobin was next. Polacina 8th. Leon Bell, the Tassie in the HQ Monaro, had some dramas. And Mark King, we saw sadly at the end of that race, after a really good drive, was unable to finish. Freestone and Fisher we saw in pit lane and out of the action.